activity that goes with the science on mystery science on what? How do scientists know so much? So for this one, you need the worksheet that looks like that. It has the magnifying glass on it. It was in your packet. So if you can get that out, this will be an experiment that you will do using your hand. You're going to trace it over on a paper and then see what happens. Okay, here we go.
In today's activity, you're going to train your brain to observe, wonder, and ask questions, just like a scientist does. Galileo and Mary Anning made drawings of their discoveries, not just because drawing is fun, but also because it helps focus your brain. So today, you'll be drawing and observing something that you see every day to find out if you can discover something new or surprising about that thing. As you draw, your challenge is to come up with as many questions as you can. I'll show you how to get started step by step. Find a partner. If you're working alone, that's okay too. When you're done with this step, click the arrow on the right.
We'll be doing the ones for the younger grades.
Get your supplies. Depending if you're in a younger grade or an older grade, you'll use a different handout.
This is the one we're working on. You have a packet. In your packet, you have this sheet of paper. This is what you need for this experiment. Are you ready? Are you ready? Do you have it? Okay, let's go.
You can do today's activity using any object. We chose to use something that you're likely to have around, a hand. We chose a hand because even though you see your hand every day, you might not have looked at it really closely before. So if you're going to use a hand too, hold up the hand that you don't normally use to write with. That's the one you'll observe today. You'll use your other hand to draw.
Okay, did you look really good at your hands? There's probably lots of stuff on there you never noticed. Okay, let's see what else they say. We've lost video.
Now, help your brain focus by drawing. It's tempting to make your drawing really perfect or pretty, but don't worry about that. The goal is to observe your hand closely and think of questions you might have. Everyone, put your hand down in the middle of your wonder page. Then, trace the outline of your hand like this.
You have to hold your hand firmly on the paper and don't let your fingers move. That's the secret.
You'll draw more details in a minute, but first, think of at least one question that you wonder about your hand. Older students, write this question on your wonder page. Younger students, share your questions with your teacher. They'll write these questions on the board. In case it's helpful, questions usually start with words like why, how, or what.
So you can get your parents or your family members to help you. I wrote, what are fingernails good for? So, what's your question? They can write it on your paper for you.
You're going to be coming up with lots more questions. So here's a little tip. To help keep track of all the questions that you come up with, use an arrow to connect your question to the part of your drawing that it has to do with. For example, if you have a question about your thumb, draw an arrow between your thumb and your question. Now, for younger students, since you're not writing out the whole question, you can just draw an arrow between your question mark and the part of your drawing that it has to do with.
Yeah, that's what you're going to do. Put a question mark there, unless you have someone to help you.
Now, here's the really fun part. Look at all of your fingers really closely. Notice all those lines, bumps, circles, dots, any little details you can see. You're going to add those details now to your drawing. As you notice more details, you're going to start thinking of more questions. So, older students, write those questions down and use arrows. Younger students, you can just put a question mark.
My question was, why is my pinky finger smaller than my other fingers? What's your question? Look at all your fingers really closely and add as many details as you can to your drawings. Like, do you have lines in your hand? Draw those in. Draw your fingernails in. Draw every detail that you can, just looking at your hand.
Sharing what you notice with other people can give you new ideas. Scientists do that all the time. So share your drawing with your partner. Then discuss these questions.
What is the same? What is different? Or you can compare your hand to somebody else's hand in your family. How is your hand alike? How is it different? Is it bigger? Is it smaller? What other questions do you have about your hands? Write down the most interesting questions that you and your partner discussed.
If you and your partner thought of even more questions, older students, write down the most interesting questions that you discussed. If you run out of space, you can use the back of your paper. Younger students, share your favorite questions with your teacher. They can write these questions on the board. You can add another question mark to your Wonder page for each new question that you come up with.
You can get your mom or somebody in your family to help you with writing down those questions. Look at your paper. Do you have lots of different details on it? Do you have the lines in your hand? Do you have your fingernails in? Oh, can you see the veins in your hand? What else can you add to your picture? What other questions might you have about your hand? Circle the part of the drawing that includes one fingernail. Connect a line from that circle to the magnifying glass.
Younger students, you can skip to step 13. Older students, now try zooming in even closer. Circle the part of your drawing that includes one fingernail. Connect a line from that circle to the magnifying glass. Then go to the next step.
Draw your fingernail and fingertip in the magnifying glass.
Look even more closely at this fingernail on your own hand. Then, draw your fingernail and fingertip in the magnifying glass. When you think of any questions, write them down and use arrows to connect your drawing to the question.
Count up all the questions on your page. Write this number in your curiosity counter. How many questions do you have? See at the bottom down here? Did you have lots of questions?
How many questions have you been able to come up with? Count up all the questions on your page. Then write this number down in your curiosity counter.
Choose one question that you think you would be interested in investigating in the future.
Now that you've come up with all these questions, it's time to think about which one are you most curious about? Choose one question that you think would be interesting to investigate in the future. Younger students, your teacher will give you another sheet of paper so that you can write down your favorite question. Older students, look at all the questions you already wrote and circle the one that you're most curious about.
Kindergartners, you can put a star by the question that you like the best.
Today, you drew something ordinary to help you observe closely and think of questions. I know that when I try this same thing, no matter what object I choose to draw, I'm always surprised by just how many questions I start having about that object. Thinking of questions is the first step to learning new things, the way a scientist does. Keep it up this year. Keep drawing and noticing interesting things. Check out the curiosity wheel that we link to in the extras. We think you'll find it's a good way to think of new things to explore and wonder about. Have fun and stay curious.
Thank you. Hope you had fun with this activity.